You know, it all started so small and so focused, with a little girl growing up in England with a passion for animals, falling in love with Tarzan, deciding to go and live with animals, hopefully in Africa, and write books about them. That's how it began. And that little girl, who grew up in a family with very little money, couldn't even afford a bicycle, how that little girl had done what I've done in my life if I hadn't had the amazing support of an incredible mother. We've learned a lot from Chimpanzee Society about the influence of different kinds of females on the development of their children. The child psychologists, the human child psychologists, are increasingly pointing to the importance of early experience, and how lucky I was to have this amazing mother who supported all this crazy desire of her daughter to go off to Africa, 10 years old, World War II raging in Europe, and as I say, not very much money, and Africa was still the dark continent back then. We didn't know that much about it, and I was the wrong sex. I was a girl, and girls didn't do that sort of thing. And so it was her support, the fact that she never questioned that I wouldn't be able to do something I wanted to do. And with her implicit message that if you really want something and you work hard and you take advantage of opportunity and you never give up, you find a way. And so that was how I was brought up, with my mother, and also a very supportive family, lots of women in the family. My father was off fighting in the war, so you know, it was very much a female family, but a very, very supportive family. I never heard any of them say, you can't do that because you're a girl. That's what I was told outside the family. And then, if I were to pick the few individuals who really had an influence on my life, I was thinking about them. Of course, first there's my mother and her mother, my grandmother. And then we come to the man who gave me the opportunity to go and study chimpanzees when I went to visit Louis Leakey at the Natural History Museum, where he was the curator. And he took me around and asked me questions about the various animals that were, you know, laid out. I don't really like natural history museums with all these dead stuffed animals. But anyway, I knew a lot about them because I had gone on reading books and spending time in the Natural History Museum in London, so I could answer many of his questions. And Louis Leakey first gave me a job basically as his secretary, because I hadn't been to college. And then he decided that I was the person he'd been looking for to go and try and find out something about chimpanzees, our closest living relatives. He had this idea that perhaps by learning how they behave in the natural environment, it would give him a better feeling how perhaps did the Stone Age ancestors behave, whose fossil remains he was searching for. And so he really stuck his neck out. Young girl, wrong sex, no college degree, straight out from Africa, doing something that people thought was potentially dangerous. He was accused of being amoral. But luckily he stuck to his convictions and he found money for me to start. So I should probably at this point honor the person, the American businessman, Leighton Wilkie, who stuck his neck out too. And he gave Louis enough money for 6 months for me to start the program, when other people wouldn't. So, in other words, pointing to the importance of philanthropy, and that sometimes you can't start a program through the traditional ways of a foundation or a grant of some sort, but there may be an individual out there who has faith in what the person or the project can do. So I honor Leighton Wilkie. And of course, some of you know the story of how I wasn't allowed to go into the bush by myself. The British authorities of what was then Tanganyika refused. And so it was my mother who volunteered to come, and she came for 4 months. And after that, the authorities decided I was a bit crazy, but I was okay. So, I mean, you know, she packed up and came out and supported me and started a little clinic for the local people. So again, she continued to play this inspirational role in my life.